Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode on my channel. As you can see, I'm sitting outside and it is sunny and hot and beautiful, which is a big difference to the weather we've just had. We went through a pretty wet spell where we had rain every day for, well, basically since December, since Christmas, and it's now the end of Jan. So we're finally back up to having some sunny days, and that really does make me want to get out into the garden and tend to the garden. So I actually wanted to do this episode about 2 weeks back, just to show you how the garden is coming along and what I'm doing in the garden and the vegetables and herbs and stuff that I've got growing, but the sun just didn't come out. So I thought I'd be wasting my time trying to record in the rain, and I would wait until a day like today. So in this episode I want to do a couple of things. I have some seedlings that I planted a little while ago that have now sprouted and they are ready to go into the garden. I also have some herbs and stuff that I bought from a flower market a while ago that are ready to go into the planters, so I'm going to do that as well. And then lastly, I have some seeds that I want to start planting into our little containers so that they can start growing, and they will be ready to plant in a month or so, when we start going into the cooler months of the year. So I've had a look at my collection of seeds, and I wanted to make sure that I was picking ones that are compatible with growing sort of late summer into autumn and then into winter. I don't know why I have this idea in my head that spring, which is September in South Africa, is the only time that you plant things. Because if I read the packets of the seeds, at the back it actually says some of them can be planted in autumn or winter or whatever the case is. And there are definitely different types of seeds or different types of crops that some prefer really hot weather, some are completely intolerant to cold, some love cold weather. So I am going to be planting some seeds today that will grow into seedlings in my little seed containers, and then they'll be ready to plant in a month or two's time, which is when we are going into winter. So I'm picking crops that are more tolerant to cold and that like the cold weather. So I'm planting things like broccoli, cabbage, beans, spinach, beets. The long-term goal that I have for our garden is that it is completely self-sufficient and that we grow all of our crops ourselves, because the fruits and veg that is being sold to us in the shops, in the supermarkets and stuff like that is it's really rubbish, and it's all GMO, and it's all sprayed with insecticides and pesticides and all of that kind of stuff. And I want to have a completely self-sufficient supply of vegetables and fruits and herbs and stuff like that we grow ourselves. And I know that the soil is not treated with anything, it's non-GMO stuff, it's heirloom stuff where I can get heirloom stuff, and that we don't use any harsh chemicals or pesticides or anything like that. You want to spray water? Okay, we're going to spray water now, Baba, when we go plant this stuff. Alright. So I'll also do a little walkthrough of the garden that we've got at the moment. It's very small scale for now because we're just starting out, but you have to start somewhere, and we just have a couple of dug in beds. The idea though is that we're going to get a couple of raised beds and that kind of stuff, and like I say, produce everything that we eat ourselves. So currently in our garden we've got tomatoes, basil, some spinach, we've got cherry tomatoes, we've got chilies because my family is mad about hot food. We've got some cabbage, some Chinese cabbage, and we've got strawberries, we've got some dill, we've got lavender, just because I love lavender. That was a dragonfly. Don't you go look for it? So yeah, as I say, very small scale for now, but the idea is that every year that goes by we add a little bit more. I'm also not an expert when it comes to gardening. I mean, I've grown a little bit of stuff here and there. I'm kind of learning as I go, and I just feel if I have a small amount of crops, like a manageable amount of crops every year, and like I add little bits every year like to my repertoire, then I'll get to know the crops a bit better, and I'll get to know the garden a bit better and all that kind of stuff, and then in the long run I'll be able to consider myself a decent gardener. But for now we're still very much in the trial and error stage, and yeah, I'm just having fun with the garden and seeing what I can get out of it. So come along with me, and then I'll show you what our garden looks like, and I'll show you the seeds that we are going to plant, and then I'm also just going to plant the seedlings that we currently have into their garden beds. I'm going to start out with just planting the seeds. I've got a couple of these trays that I've had from other seedlings that I've planted already, that I've just kept so that I can recycle and reuse. And all I've done is filled them up with a little bit of seed mix that I got from the nursery. So I've got 6 crops that I actually want to plant now. I've got some baby spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, beets, cabbage, and rockets. I love rockets. So these are the ones I'm going to plant today. I do have a couple others that I want to plant, but I'll get to that on a different day. So for now I'm just going to plant these 6. I'm just going to make a little hole in them like this, and then I'll plant the seeds in the little holes that I make. Seeds are done and I've just watered them, and now what I'm going to move over to doing is planting out the herbs and stuff that we bought from the nursery. So right now we're at the back of the house, and what I'm hoping to do with this space is to have like a little like table and chairs where we can come and have breakfast and stuff like that. But I also want to have our like herb garden here, as well as a tea herb garden and like a medicinal herb garden. So it's not going to be part of like the main fruit and vegetable side. This will be like mostly for herbs and stuff. So I've got a couple of planter boxes that are on the ground, and I am now going to plant some thyme and rosemary and lavender and that kind of stuff in those herb boxes, and yeah, then that will be like the actual start of our herb garden. I'm now up at the top of my garden where the actual like veggie patch is going to be. So this is where we have got like beds in the ground, but we're also going to have a couple of raised beds when we get to it. So I thought I'd just let you see what we've got going on so long, and then I can keep you updated with how the progress is going as time goes on. So this is what the beds look like in the ground. And it goes all the way up to the end there. We've actually got our compost heap as the very last hole right at the back. So in this one over here we've got basil and we've got normal tomatoes. Then if we move a little bit over, here we've got chilies and we've got cherry tomatoes. In this one over here, we've got our newly planted lettuce, which is just a variety of all different types of lettuce, because we're a big salad eating family. Over here, we have got some Chinese cabbage, and then there we have spinach, which I actually had some for the first time yesterday, and it was delicious. Then in this one, we've got some spring onions, and I'm hoping to plant something else over here. And then this one is completely empty, and this is where I'm going to be planting our beans and our cucumber. Apparently beans and cucumber are companion plants. There's something to do with like the nitrogen, where beans make the soil nitrogen rich and the cucumber likes it, or the other way around. I can't remember what I read, but yeah, so I have got beans and cucumber seedlings which I planted a while back, and they are going to go into this bed over here. I just need to water the garden first to make sure that when I plant the seedlings into the garden bed, it's very nice and wet and moist, and we're not shocking the roots with a very dry spot that we're putting the seedlings in. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll show you what that looks like at the end of it. And then yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be doing in my garden for the time being. Okay, so we are finally done with today's episode. I'm really glad that I managed to get all the stuff that I set out to do in the garden, because I don't know how long we're going to have sun for or when the rain's going to return. So it was nice to be out in the sun, getting that vitamin D, and just doing the things that I've been putting off for quite a while. And I feel it's also really nice for my son to be able to like get out and play. He's been cooped up inside for quite a while now. So to have this nice weather for him to actually be out and about and to help me in the garden is really nice. And I really encourage him to be in the garden with me, because then he can see how like the whole gardening thing works. And I hope that it like plants a seed, excuse the pun, like in him, and like fosters a want for him to maybe one day grow his own stuff. That's really like long-term hopes. For short term, I just like that he's out in the sun with me and that we're doing stuff together, and that he can see on the short term where his food is going to come from, and yeah, that he's not in front of a screen and stuff like that all day. So yeah, I'm going to call it a wrap at that. I'm now going to go inside and have a little snack, something to eat, because working in the garden always gets me nice and hungry. And I will see you guys in the next one. If this kind of content is something that you enjoy, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss episodes like this coming out in the future. And also, if you have any kind of advice for me, if you're an avid gardener yourself, or you're on a homestead and you are a pro at managing and growing a garden, please leave me all the words of wisdom and advice and encouragement in the comments below. I read everything, and it would just be so nice to get pointers from people that are like in the thick of it, so that I can, you know, take that and use it moving forward. But yeah, that's it for now. Take care. Bye.